There is a belief that feels almost moral. If something matters, you push harder. If performance drops, you add efforts. If growth stalls, you expand. More energy, more initiatives, more optionality. It sounds responsible, but most systems don't fail because of neglect. They fail because of accumulation. We keep adding until the structure can't hold itself, and we call that ambition. The assumption underneath all of it is simple: more effort improves outcome, and sometimes it does. But in strategy, that belief becomes dangerous because strategy is not the art of trying, it's the discipline of removal. The uncomfortable part is this: subtraction looks like laziness from the outside. When someone narrows their focus, kills projects, refuses expansion, stop exploring adjacent opportunities, it it can look like retreat. But what's actually happening is compression. Focus is not intensity. Focus is compression. It's forcing energy, capital, attention, and identity into a smaller surface area. And compression increases power. You see this in engineering, you see this in physics. When force is distributed, it dissipates. When force is concentrated, it penetrates. Yet, in business, in career, in creative work, we default to distribution. We diversify prematurely, we multiply commitments, we scale before we stabilize, and we justify it with confidence. Overconfidence doesn't usually show up as arrogance, it show up as expansion. I can handle this. We can run this in parallel. This won't dilute us. We overestimate our coordination capacity. We underestimate fragility. Every added initiative increases interdependence, and every interdependence increases fragility. The system becomes harder to predict, harder to stabilize, and harder to correct. And here is the part that's uncomfortable. The more competent you are, the more this tempts you because early success reinforces the belief that you can carry more weight. But success achieved under narrow focus doesn't scale the way you think it does. It scales risk. So, when does subtraction outperform addition? When the system is already under strain, when clarity is diffused, when identity is expanding faster than the capability. But we rarely interpret strain correctly. We interpret it as insufficient effort. So we add more meetings, more hires, more features, more partnerships. The structure bends, and we interpret bending as growth until it breaks. There's another distortion here. Addition feels productive, removal feels like loss. Stopping something carries visible cost. Not stopping something hides the cost inside the complexity. And humans are very bad at detecting invisible fragility. We see activity, we don't see structural weakness. This is where sacrifice becomes real. Sacrifice is not dramatic, it's quiet and specific. It's deciding that a good thing must die so a great thing doesn't. It's compressing identity, and that compression feels dangerous because it narrows future possibilities. Here is where I have to admit something. I used to equate focus with discipline, and if strong people simply resist distraction, that framing was too simple. Focus is not willpower, it's architectural. You remove because the structure cannot safely hold more, not because you lack stamina. And that shifts the conversation from efforts to design. The problem is that overconfidence hides fragility. We believe we are scaling capacity, but often we are scaling complexity faster than coherence. And complexity compounds silently. The moment you stop adding, you start noticing the cracks, which is which is why subtraction feels destabilizing. You see what was fragile all along. So why does doing less wins more? Because power is not proportional to volume, it's proportional to concentration. Because fragility grows with dispersion, because overconfidence expands faster than structural integrity. But here is the unresolved age. If you subtract too early, you constrain growth. If you subtract too late, you collapse. There is no formula for that threshold, and that makes this uncomfortable. So, the lens for now is not do less, but it's like this. When strain appears, ask whether the system needs more energy or less surface area. That distinction changes the intervention, and it forces harder questions. What must stop so the core can survive compression? And I don't think this tension ever fully resolves because expansion feels alive, compression feels risky. Now, I have a better understanding of the problem, even if it is not resolved yet. And this is part of learning how to make a deliberate decision.